Okay, our page looks good, but there's two things that we should constantly kind of do to make sure that all is well with our site, and that's validating. The first thing is validating HTML, and not just HTML, HTML5. So what I'm going to do is view the source, just copy it all, Control A, Control C, and then I'm going to jump into this site here, click text field, and replace that with what I just copied and validate it. And so what this does is when I scroll down it says, hey, here's your mistakes. And it happens to be that when I did my aside page or sidebar, I didn't add a UL. So I just grab this UL here and cut it and add it to the end. And if I want to clean it up, I can use a plugin called HTML Tidy. Or I'll just type tidy, and then there's tidy HTML. So I click that, and look what it did to my page here. So I didn't want that. That actually blew up my page, but if I just highlight it and then right click and auto format selection on tags, or Control Alt F, and I'll get that, which is nice and neat. And so I have that. Now if I refresh my page, see how that comes in. So definitely something has changed. I'm going to view the source again, view page source, Control A, Control C, jump over here, go back up into here, Control A, Control V, validate, and I get that that's good. Alright, so the next thing is CSS. Here's my styles page, Control A, Control C, and I jump into this CSS lint, and then I just paste it in, and I hit lint. It says no errors, which is good, and 2 warnings. Now, CSS lint doesn't like IDs, and you can get a lot of arguments on to use IDs or not to use IDs. But it says don't use IDs in selectors. So I got pound wrapper, and if I want to change that, I'd go in here and say, hey, you know what? I don't have to have an ID. I'm just going to do a dot for a class there, and if I do that, then I got to go into header. And instead of having an ID, I'm just going to change it to a class. Now, if you're using JavaScript and you need to get an element by ID, then you probably would use an ID. But in this case, I'm cool with that. And now if I go to my CSS, copy A, Control C, and then I just restart, drop it in there, lint, and now I have this one error here, which is vendor prefixes. After we run it by restarting and running it through, we still have this prefixer error. Now prefixer, there's a site by this guy, Jeffrey Way. He created this, and if we just drop our CSS that we have in here, and then we can say, you know what, just give us no prefixes at all, and we hit prefixer. And then that's just going to give us everything without a prefix. And prefixes are for browsers, and they're different competing ways of doing something. So then if I drop that in here, there is a really cool plugin for Sublime Text called Prefixer, which just brings in that site. And if I hit File and Edit Prefixer, Control Alt X, it's going to run through the site, Control Alt X, and add all the necessary prefixes. So then if I hit copy, bring it back in here, restart, Control A, Control V, lint, and then I still get this error. Now it's saying, hey, the Moz box shadow is compatible. So if I really want this thing to Control Shift D makes a duplicate, and then I say, hey, okay, I have that, save it, copy it, drop it back in here, restart, Control A, Control V, lint. Now I got 0 errors and 0 warnings, and that's great. And so by using CSS lint, sometimes it gives us things we don't have to change, but it's a good way if you do that and validate your HTML5. It's the first thing I do when I run into a problem to make sure that my structure is right and that my CSS is right. And then from there I can go to other debugging techniques. So that is validating with some modern tools. The next thing we're going to talk about is adding a different page with a different layout and a different sidebar, and how we can do that with WordPress.